Welcome to TAMAPTA. I'm Debbie Gordon-Rubin. Seasonal Homes in the Inuvik Delta. That's the title of the Language Arts Unit, which was presented to the staff of Sir Alexander Mackenzie School on April 1st here in Inuvik. Teaching children what kind of activities occur on the land and in the communities during the 4 seasons. Many children already know a lot of this, as this is their life outside of the school doors, but for many, they know very little. Pauline Gordon, Karen Hanna, and Marion DeJong have used portions of this unit already in their classes, but this was the first time they are sharing it with others. They invited the staff and elders from the community to the school to show just how simple it can be to integrate community resource people into the school curriculum.
When we worked on the unit, the ladies asked me a question that kind of stumped me for a few days. I went away feeling very inadequate. They wanted to know, when I spoke about certain things, how as a classroom teacher I was able to utilize community resource people and still have a focus on as an objective and meet some of the concepts that we had to cover in our curriculum areas. And I went away and I thought I never had to really think about this or itemize it for anyone before, so I had to do a lot of self-reflecting, because you know, as teachers you learn best by trial and error, and that's basically how it was with myself. I'm no different than you are. And one of the things that was kind of beneficial was that I was not from this community when I first came on stream. I was from Aklavik, so I was a little bit leery about asking certain people to come in, and so I had to use some of the strategies that are outlined in your book, in the preamble, the Roman numeral 5, if you would turn to that. And I've often heard teachers say that it's so hard to get members in from the community and have a successful presentation, because some of them assume that you can just, a lot of people assume you can just pick up the phone and ask somebody to come in and tell them what topic you want covered, and that's basically what's going to happen. For some people that will occur, but for most, a lot of our people are shy. Some of them don't really know what you mean by talking about acid rain or whatever, and those types of things. So when I thought about it, there are some steps that are really crucial for getting a successful visit. Our history is documented mainly through the oral tradition, and because of this, we need to utilize the people that this tradition has been passed on to, because as the lady said, when we went out to get resources, there was very little there. What was there, we had to be really critical of. One of the things that I'd like you to add to that page, how to access community resource people, is that elders love to work with other elders and to have assistance from other people, because even the other day when I asked Sarah if she would come, she said, am I going to be there? And I said, yes. And she said, I'm going to be with her? I said, yes. And she said, yahoo! So I thought, oh, okay. And then Elizabeth Greenland told me to ask Catherine to come, and I said I was going to, and she said, oh, you good girl. So I thought, okay, that's something I better add. For the pre-planning for the class visits is really crucial. Some of the things that I had to go through with my kids were questioning techniques, having them role play, like an elder being there, like you could, as a teacher, could pretend to be an elder. Some of us are elders and we don't admit it. and tell them, like, have them go through the whole process of trying to find information that's relevant to this region, and they'll find out in a hurry that there's very little, and some of them are really eager to go out and find things, so they'll ask different people, and you can have them write letters, and this whole writing process comes in. So all those types of things you can use, and different other things to teach them as well is discuss respect for elders. Bring in Agnes, have her tell them what elders appreciate, what they don't appreciate. Have that all done beforehand so that you don't have kids running around and showing disrespect to elders. And some of the things that came out in some of my sessions were quite early, and I was really quite embarrassed about were, how come you don't talk good or things like that. And so you have to talk about all those things beforehand. It's really important to tell them that they have another language that they're really good at, but we don't really know that much about it. And they're not really good. They don't speak our language as good, but they have another language that they really speak well. And role play social gatherings where such as feast, have a little Thanksgiving feast and pretend that some of them are elders and how they have to go up first and the prayers said and all those types of things so that they get a feel for it. And then if you have 2 or 3 elders in, if when they see them actually interacting, that's kind of showing them 2 models of how they show respect to each other and other cultures, because a lot of our elders, if you notice in there, are Gwich'in and Inuvialuit, so how they share ideas and show different perspectives, or even 2 from the same culture sometimes will show different perspectives because of where they came from, some from Alaska and some from the east. For the children that are from this region, like our Aboriginal students, I think it'll give them a sense of belonging to the school finally, because for so many years we've always had materials that have been brought up from the South, so that the students that are from the South already feel comfortable with that. They have a sense of belonging. But for the children that are actually from here, we've never had material that's relevant to their culture, so I think it's going to give them a sense of pride and boost their morale.
Karen and I used parts of the theme in our own planning. Mm-hmm. So some teachers, a lot of teachers do these things already, but I think what they may not do, and I speak for myself too, is always carry it as an ongoing theme through the whole year, because what our theme talked about, our unit talked about, was life, the life that's here. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's a regional unit. And so life doesn't end with the unit, so because the subject is seasonal homes in the Inuvik Delta, and it's a comparison between then and now, we could talk about things forever. There's a lot to learn.
The unit's divided into 9 sections. Basically, the first few sections is our preamble, which we go into the philosophy, overview, and goals. The middle section deals a lot with the seasonal activities. We felt that the focus was on the child and then how his activities change according to the seasons. So we took each season and gave an example of activities and how to go about teaching it in your classroom. The end of the section dealt with cross-reference to the curriculum. We wanted to show teachers how easy it is to integrate this unit and integrate local programs in throughout the curriculum areas throughout the year.
This is the language art unit that a group of teachers put together. Within this unit there are various topics one can teach, such as clothing and different materials and resource people that you can use. They also have a unit on drum dancing and the different types of drum dancing that is done within the north. The teachers got to try a little bit of that during their session. We'll show you a little bit of that later, but first let's meet the elders that they brought into the school.
We wanted to involve the elders into our unit, which we felt was the foundation. Mm-hmm. So we had a session with the elders where all the teachers were divided into groups, and they all went and met with the different elders and had a group session dealing with various topics.
The buddies are Liz and Mary Ellen.
Because we decided that the foundation of our unit was going to be local resource people, then it became easy, because after we did sort of a local search for resources like books and things like that, we found that there weren't any, or there weren't too many, and as Pauline mentioned earlier, what there was maybe often wasn't accurate, or it was outdated, or it was from a more southern or an unrelated perspective. So what we did was we went right back to the people, and we organized and learned with a lot of help from people around town how to access our local resources, and that's what we did.
We're in this one with David and Elijah.
Huh?
No, there's 4 people now. No.
Yeah, there's 4 of us in ours.
Yeah, I went to school at Single Point.
On the mainland.
Hmm?
On the mainland.
That's where we could have education at Single Point.
That was the school, or they had an actual school.
They said some of them gods, they put them in there, and they know when they're going to go to school, like Isaac, they put him to school, and they camp about 5 miles away, 5, 6 miles away to that running river.
Yeah.
In the evening, Isaac will take off over there, they'll never catch.
So Ishmael, you went to school in Shingle Point too?
Yeah, about 1931, same year as him, I think. And I didn't know no English at all, nothing. Couldn't understand our supervisor, our teacher. Didn't know nothing, exactly nothing. Well, our parents talked straight Inuvialuit language. It's West Nordic dialect. So I didn't know nothing. I just learned one word from the police.
What word?
Yeah, the police,
police.
they were getting ready to hitch up their dogs. They camp at their house. They swear. I didn't know they swear. I went inside the house and I told my grandmother, I learned a language, white man language. He told me what it was, and she been in school a little bit, you know, mission school at Point Barrow long ago. He said, oh, that language, don't ever say that again. He said, you are damning God, you know. He said, I'm fighting God. I'm not. So I tried not to say it in front of her. I never did say it again in front of her. It's the first language. That's bad first word I ever learned.
So how did you get along in school if you couldn't speak to anybody?
Well, they never stop us from talking our own language, you know. The other boys, they tell me this and that, and it didn't take me very long, maybe about a couple of months I could speak a little English and learn how to write cat, K-A-T, and learn how to say Humpty Dumpty sat on a That time David used to stutter really bad, you know. You used to have to hit him on the back when he tried to say something K, you know, like a king. So they hit him hard. Then I know one time a teacher, they teach us how to tell little stories like Jack and Jill went up the hill to get a pail of water and that one. And the teacher told him, say, hi diddle, diddle, the cat and the fiddle. The cow jump over the moon. So David started out pretty good, all right. First started, he said, hi, lilla, the cat and the fiddle. And after that he said, he's talking about a little dog that laughed at Jesus, but he couldn't say it all at once. He said, and a laugh to see Sunny Poon. He called that Sunny Poon the spoon. Sunny Poon mean a piece under the boat, you know. Keep he studied so hard that he couldn't say the word, so he just used half Eskimo and half English. We stayed there about 4 years, and well, our parents used to come and see us. They didn't have no boat to take us home too, so we get used to it. We felt a little lonely, all right, to stay in school about 4 years without going home. But people from East Nordic, like Pete Cumminghock and the others, they still living in Copper Mine, Cambridge Bay. They never see their parents for about 5 years. The only way they come by Hudson Bay ships, they went to school by them, and they used to be pretty lonely, you know. I used to feel poor for them. I didn't really know how to feel poor for anybody, but I feel poor for them, you know. Yeah.
So how long did you go without seeing your parents?
Yeah, about 4 years. We moved to Aklavik when they had the school built in Anglican new boarding school. They call it residential school. So I had one school 1 year again there, from grade 4 to grade 7. The teacher tested my exams and looked at and did my grade 5 work, and he just put me on to grade 7. So me and him, we had English teacher. And we had English accent a little bit. So anything with a S, we have to say English and D. And when you say potato, you say potato, tomato, and all the chant and all these, you know. When we moved to Klavik, I felt it so easy to speak English. No English accent.
Our teacher in school at Singapore was it's a small little lady, but dangerous.
Well, we were small too that time. Yeah. We thought they were big, you know.
She made you toe the mark.
So this English teacher was pretty strict, you know. You have to learn like a real English. When you read, you got to sound like English, and S with a sh.
And what did she do to you if you didn't sound that way?
Yeah, in a Klavik, I just stayed one school. They had no grade 8, so I finished that other grade and had to go home. I had 2 friends from Fort McPherson, 2 same age, 2 of Peter Thompson's sons. They teach me Lucia every night. And I was really getting good at it. I started to learn how to talk, and if I did stay another year, I would be a real bilingual.
Trilingual, I think.
Yeah, I could talk a little bit, all right. Not too much. I forget lots, too. So it was fun, all right.
Indeed.
I just give credit to the Anglican mission because they teach us once you learn something, like 1 grade a year, you know, right here, I think it's the same, 1 grade a year, you pass on to grade 2, but you learn, you never forget what you learn. I never forget what I learned.
Lindsay, I just got married in August, and I was wondering what her wedding was like.
Huh?
What was her wedding like?
Kanokit pago ko inik dun eh. Unik kami. Bago kila, uinik kami ako na agas mi. Nalupri ko ni huli ba? Unarak, ihari ba kami likat para. Agas mi uinik palo ka tarak sa. Yeah. As long as you don't fight with your husband, yeah, okay. Yeah, you have to give.
Okay.
Minangaluwa kanyo ka, katitira kumain na, January pan katitira nga. Hibun niyo ko katitira ka ba
Ibon niyok tilam, tingin ko nga naliro nga ibon niyo mitsukubaw. Dabra, kakahonoro tayo na katitirayak doktor.
She said they never made plans to marry. He came and they started talking and decided they should go to Klavik and get married, and they did. They had no plans.
Missionary there at all times, was it?
Yeah, there's Anglican minister Karol, ka?
And how old? At what age did they get married?
Kapiniku kayo kak tila lima ba yun? Tita. Kapiniglibido kayo kakpit.
72.
Ame ki nulia kabit.
Oh,
Over 20,
19.
Before 20, yeah?
19.
19.
Yeah. 19, try for 19.
Wah, ito kalak to nga.
Ha?
Kalak to nga.
Ilibidahin.
Ito mga
Nulia kilti. 19 or 18.
Now, would you immediately go to your own home, or would you live with your parents?
They moved back to Anapoyak
So they had to
after
go
they got married. Napoya mo nutak tudik. And
Tabra nga henyo takam nup tabra nutim. Amiki waptiun hokaw tau raichu. Inyo niyo tih raichu tupichu. Kahit may kapayo ko niyo na kahit may kana on tabra. Kubanga hui changuli ro hanyar kal tabra ke lupo Inuvialuit ma tabra tualu alami kuichu tabra hei taima kibugalung niya kaura kabunuk tabra ngani hei na inyo niya kata na kamlik taima ngani 50 years ngulang nakatay niya.
She said when they first got married, after they got married in Aklavik, they went back to Napoyak. And she didn't have anything except her blankets and the bag that she had. But she said, Lucky George had a team of dogs. Yeah, a dog team, yeah. So from there on, he had to start trapping, and then she started working for him and everything. And that's the way it went all the years, just kept on working, and she never realized it's 50 years. That's how long.
We had a lot of positive feedback from the staff, and a lot of the staff members came and said that they wished that they had met these people before so that they could use them for resources for some of the units that they've, or theme areas that they've developed over the years, and how it would have, and some of them talked about how it would have enhanced like the learning of the students because they would have had experts into the classroom to actually speak about something such as the muskrat hunting. And one of the areas that we tapped into that kind of came by accident was the how they used to pair up people for marriages before, and they never used to like have a little dating session before. So that was kind of interesting, and I think a lot of our staff felt that it was an in-service that should have been held years ago. So they really felt good about it, and so did we.
I think the section of our book that has the units, that the little themes that we developed, we didn't intend that teachers necessarily use them. We wanted them to see how we develop those themes and what they could do with their own choice of subject, which I guess it brings us to another point, is that the choice of subject often comes from the child, and so that's where you start first to get your information, and then from the child you also find out what resources there are, what people there are around who would be happy to come in and talk to them. And so you can, plan your whole theme just from your resource people.
Then we met back in the library. Then we had a feast, actually, and had a lot of our staff members brought in bannock and soup and dry meat and that. And we had a chance to visit and get to know the elders. We then had a group session back in the library again, where everyone in their group brainstormed and then theme developed. Well, they basically took an area that maybe they were talking about with their elders. For example, let me think of one. The marriage, Pauline was talking about different marriages and how they were put together. So they would put that as their central focus, and they would branch that off. And how would you, basically they would tell ideas, how would they teach it? How would they go about teaching it in their classroom?
Our group met with Victor and Emma and Sarah, and they were showing us how to do string games. So in order to present our little unit on string games and what we learned from the activity, this is the introduction, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. What can you do with a ball of string? You can do almost anything. Put it on your hands and make a shape. Tie it all together, no need for tape. Measure it, play with it, draw and talk about the things you can make without a walk to the entertainment center to turn you on. Just pick up the string, no need to yawn. And we decided that we could incorporate all of this in each one of these activities in math, social studies, language arts, and science. There's storytelling activities, there's interaction with peers and elders if we get them to come in and show us how to do this. The students could do research of animals involved in string games, poetry, rap such as we did, or you could take any kind of poetry and put it to music. Using string, you could do measurement, problem solving, comparisons, string art. And social studies, comparing long ago, how people played with games long ago and what we have today. You could do timelines with the string, family sharing time. Science, seasonal changes, and I think that's about it. When we were sitting in the group doing our work, some of us didn't have string, fortunately, and got to just sit and watch. and others actually learned how to do.
We've been doing this now for an hour and a half.
So we'll just do a quick demonstration of what it is that we learn in our half hour with the elders.
Okay, put it down like this, straight, hang on, put those two fingers through, twist it to the right, through, over the little finger, over there, let it drop, those two strings, work it through. It's not going to go. Let go of the thumb, drop it through those, pull the bottom one.
And after we had our little feast, we went back, and because we had listened to them talk about their experiences, we didn't know what point to start from. We didn't know what theme we should use for all the information they were giving to us as adults, as elders. So we chose one of them, which is reindeer herding. But the others have to be pursued. They were very interesting. One is about the shamans, something that people seldom ever talk about, which is a lot of good information on there. The other one was schooling, when they went to school in the early 20s and 30s and how long they had to stay. They sort of evolved around reindeer herding. I think we chose that because we most of the stories came about information about herders. So we didn't really get everything we wanted done on reindeer herding. There were so many things, like David was telling us that when he started herding, they sent him out on his skis to go to the camp. He skied 15 miles his first day on his skis. He said, well, I stayed in the tent for 2 days after going 15 miles. I guess you have to do that. So one of the things that came out of herding is skiing. They would ski as herders. They'd ski out to check the herd. The other thing is dog team and sleds. And the last thing was to talk about the reindeer herd as it was then, and the reindeer herd as it is now. And our resource people would be binders, all the individuals that were herders, and I think the really important one we left out of there is the wife. The wives, you know, I'm sure they have wonderful stories about how they had to marry those guys. And the children that were raised in the reindeer.
This is the way they beat their drums so early in the morning. This is the way the ladies dance, the ladies dance, the ladies dance. This is the way the ladies dance so early.